So religion, dystopia, known versus belief. A world full of lies. I'm going to do a little bit of reflection on a few things that I experienced and filmed. This was filmed 2017, in summer 2017. And I don't know if you've probably already seen the image, but I'm going to talk about this and many others, and then hopefully, if I get myself motivated to read some more of the book of John. Those who endure me and not adore me, but endure me. Thank you, and to Jesus Loves Ministry, thank you for your support, as you're the only one this past year that's done that. So if it wasn't for you, that little that you helped, man, makes a difference in help at least paying for the internet. And I saw before I started this, my front porch, a hummingbird, which is awesome for me. You know, I've been watching hunterfacts.com. What is it? I think I'll go look at it real fast. This dude, I've been watching him. Look at that man cave. You know, I'm so happy for him and people like him who have the opportunity to enjoy life. So it's facts by howtohunt.com. So I've been listening to him lately. And all the rest of you that had that opportunity to live life to the fullest and to do things pretty awesome, you know, interact with God's creation. I certainly wish I could do it. So it's going to be a big deal for me just to walk 20 feet into my front yard. I got to water the prickly pear cactus and do some more weeding of my wildflower garden, and put minnows in tubs that I have. I have some, and clean out the one pond to put some water, lettuce that I've raised, I keep around. I don't know, man. It's good to have life around you. You make the most of what you can. In my situation, having my son's pets, his rat, his guinea pig, his gerbil, his budgie are nice. And just having fish and all that. So, anyways, and look a little bit closer at this. This. You see these the two very dark eyes and the long nose that this guy has. And some may say almost like a long hooded nose, and at the mouth with this whole thing. I don't know. It's weird, but you'll see. Next to him, there's this creature looking thing that I filmed. There's a bunch of other things if you look into it, if deeper. This is where that teepee was in the middle of the town that eventually I got so pissed off I went back and destroyed the whole damn thing. After they come and attacked me spiritually. And just one of these things decided to walk on my front porch, basically less than freaking 6 feet from my son where he was sleeping at the time. I remember that December 19, 2017. I was so pissed off after 3 days of being tormented by these things. I screamed at it and did this gibberish type speaking in tongues. It was the only time I ever did it. It wasn't towards anybody else, or you know, it was to this thing that was walking on my front porch. And funny thing is, it ran off. I mean, you could hear it just walking on my front porch, and I just got so pissed. I was really worn out by then. After 3 days, like super exhausted. It's very hard to sleep when these things are all around your place. Funny thing is, as he ran off the front porch and then went along the side of the house towards the back. As I was doing that, my neighbor was pulling in from work. The guy upstairs, because I live in a quadplex, the daddy place, right? My son's mom's she got the house and I got nothing, so as usual. Sorry for the spelling here. It says images of Bigfoot dimmed. by Michael Adams. It's supposed to be filmed. But you notice there's his long nose there and his dark eyes. And it seems to be, it's weird. This with the long kind of cone head. Here, something very similar, if it's not the same one of his buddies, popping out of a tree. You can see the long nose, these nostrils, two eyes, beady eyes, and then peeping, reset it in. There's that mouth again, weird mouth. Then a buddy of his down about a mile, maybe 2 miles from where I filmed this, because I filmed in my neighbor's yard. The next year, even though I prayed against these things, I guess they're still allowed to be all over the place. He's got some goony guy right above him too. But anyways, this one, if you look really closely, these things vibrate. They must vibrate a little bit. Plus, I think it's the way we film it. It's hard to stay when you're filming. And I didn't know it was there anyways. None of these I saw with the naked eye. It's only the film that captured, the camera that captured it. But there's two dark eyes in there. There's a kind of this leathery gray face type thing. It's moving back and forth. You can see it's moving. There's the shine of the eyes, and as it moves, his hands blurry and all that. But you can see the cone head, the whole body, and it's sticking out of the damn tree. A freak show. So, at least what we call Bigfoot and Sasquatch, dogmen, not dogmen, could be dogmen, grassmen, boogers, that's what they kind of look in my neighborhood. I think they're all spirits myself. This is where this guy is filmed. He's filmed right there in the shadows. There's a lot more other things going on in this picture if you really look at it, and it ain't pareidolia. But you can definitely see this is not pareidolia. This is not some, knots in a tree and all that kind of stuff, or leaves folding and all that. That's what that is. And it's what we call a Bigfoot. So anyways, back to the story about my neighbor. So he pulls in the driveway and he says, it's funny that later on that day, because he goes to work around 3:30, 12 hours later, and works for the Air Force of all things. We got a Air Force base next to Toledo Airport, which is really next to also Oak Openings is a part of a park system. What little we have left, Northwest Ohio, it's pretty all developed. It's amazing accomplishment that humanity has done to drain the black swamp, and tile it and ditch it, and turn a place that 100 years ago people ice skated from all the way from southeast Michigan to Maumee River and back during the winter time. That's how they anyways, so he pulls in the driveway and he sees this tall dark figure guy. He says, "This is a dude who's all dressed up in black and is in our side yard there when I'm pulling in." And he runs off down the road, and so he pulls back out of the driveway to go follow it and says he never could find it. And I said, 12 hours later, we were out in the back, and he was walking out of his place to go drive off to work. And I said, "Hey, man, did you see anything weird last night?" He said, "Yeah, man, I saw this dude that was like dressed in black. Tall, skinny dude dressed in black, and I went after him because I drove after him to see what the hell's going on. What's he doing it's 3:30 in the morning, and anyway, between 3 and 3:30 in the morning, and this dude's in our yard, and he took off. I couldn't find him, which says a lot. He's Mike's one of those dudes, man, self-reliant dude, works hard." And spends his money going to all sorts of trouble. He's got endless frequent miles, and lives a modest life, but has things to show for it because it's hard work. And I told him, I said, listen, there was crazy things happening, and there was something on our porch right at the same time, and I woke up, and I screamed at it, and prayed again, or it didn't really have prayer. It was more like I had been interacting with Dr. Erica Shepherd at the time online, and what to do about those things, and listening to people about, talking in tongues and all that. And it was the only time I ever did it. It was against these things. And I think me screaming at it and going blah, 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 just back at it, that's what I call talking in tongues. It took off, man. It took off. Freaked out. But these things aren't alone, All these things that we call Bigfoot, man, they're never alone. They always have other entities with them, things that look like frogs and things that look like everything under the sun with big eyes, glassy eyes, whatever. It's just crazy what these things are, because that's why I'm totally convinced they're spirits. This is one of those Bigfoots that I filmed while we were on the wagon ride with my son. 2017, and that's the same one I ended up filming that I used for this cover page for the show, right here. The dark eyes. He didn't have as big of a nose. He has kind of like a black mustache and all that. And I'm sorry about the quality of the film, but it was about 100 yards away, and I was using a crap phone. That's all I had at the time. But his head was there. And I'll see if I magnify that. He's not alone, but you can see him just standing, his head popping right out. God. Here's an image of these entities that I filmed, and which they're really close to where this one that I filmed right here in the center. Then you have to look really close at these images, because like this one moves around a lot. This one I got it a little more stable. And a lot of times, you film to the side. You don't look directly at these things. You film to the side and behind you and all that. And eventually you catch these things, and it ain't pareidolia. These are actually entities. This one, I filmed at the edge of the woods, just probably 100 yards away plus from where the film is. And you can see these heads. And one thing that's interesting about this one, in my book, is the kind of almost childlike face right in the center. Got this one. There's that weird nose of theirs again. That one of the dark eyes, and the other one like closed, or somebody punched it or whatever. Anyways, this one has multiple entities on it. That might make a better image. Of course, it gets blurry, and you gotta remember it was a cheap phone. But it was staring at my son and the rest of the kids playing t-ball. And you film them in the shadows. It's at the Bigfoot. No, I don't think it's. I think they're all like tree spirits. A lot of things are being mislabeled as Bigfoot or Sasquatch is actually tree spirits. There's a group of them right here, kind of stacking up, doing that totem thing that I talk about, because they hook up to each other. That guy is just fascinating. I mean, you can see the big nostrils, his weird mouth-like thing, just distortion. But there's eye. You can see the dark eye one. clothes, like somebody punched them. The other one with the dark. Then there's the head. Almost looks like a Chinaman, but then there's this like little, almost girl, little boyish thing. As they're watching little boys and girls play t-ball. And I just find this one fascinating that I was able to capture. In the middle of the day, by the way, and well, it was the afternoon, then playing softball. There's that one dude again. I call him the loner. This was the same area where that one guy that I filmed, the Green Man or whatever. I find that this, I call the baby's Bigfoot, but it's just the head. Just look at it. There's the freaking eyebrows. There's the eyelid. There's an eye. There's actually eyelashes. There's the nose and punched in like nose thing. There's the mouth and all that. Very leathery. And there's the hairline popping out of the damn trees. By the way, across the ravine, where the same ravine where I ended up having the one crawl up to me, when I saw it, and right when it from that time when it went from dusk to dark, that time period when I saw the one climbing up the ravine with that. Well, he said he was a Crow Indian, and he went by the name Crow. Sure looked like an Indian. I don't know whether he was Crow or not. From my experience of be hanging out with them out west, forest fire, reminded me of the Navajos. So there's another one, just popping his head off. There's a tree lane, and you see he's got some demon buddies with him. Anyways, these things are like massing in these long grass. Just massing, boiling, and this in the daytime. I guess you just gotta be the right place, or just. I notice when you start looking for these things, they'll manifest one reason or another. This is just, to give you an idea. There's a car. People want to height. There's actually a ravine. Actually, this is a distortion. Obviously, you can see that if the base of the tree is about 6 feet, probably 8 to 10 feet below this minimum. So this is how tall this tree is. There's a head popping out of there. And this dude, and this is right next to the Kroger's, and that ravine where the 10 Mile Creek runs through it, with all the trees and all that. And then this dude thing's head just popping out. And people say, oh, that's a beehive. You look a little bit closer. There's a nose right here. Once again, that funky pushed-in nose. There's the eyes. There's the hairline, the almost cone-like shade. This one has like a beardish. It looks like he has a beard. Why is that head floating? And then there's this thing. Oh, that's parallel. Yeah, sure. Head popping out of the tree. Now there it is. It just hovering. These have to be spirits. There's no way that any living thing can do that. But its head's right there. And I filmed that. I think it was 2017 or 18. I think this was a year later. This is after I got pissed off at these things. And I stopped going out to the quote-unquote field and searching them. I just could film them literally on the edge. This is the parking lot and leading to Kroger's, going east towards Kroger's. It gives you an idea. There's the scale of this car. If I was standing next to this thing, I might be half a foot higher than that, right? It's at least, 5 feet? I'm the average height of 5'9". And then there's this one, dude. This is, maybe it was 2019 that I filmed that. It was 2019. I was saying 18. It's 2019. It's 2 years later. There's one of these faces that popped out, and that would be in this same wood line right here, and it would be about this high. So we're talking at least would be 6 feet. If somebody wanted me to stand next to it, the head would be based on it's very distorted, but you can see there's the eye, there's the nose. And people, oh, it's too distorted. Well, and by the way, there's something next to it. I can't help it. They're spirits. I can't change them. I can't make them something I want other people to be. They are what they are. So that's that one dude, and it reminds me a lot of that white Bigfoot that I shared with on this dude then you can look at this video here that Colorado Bigfoot filmed back to, a couple years earlier than when I filmed it, and I noticed that a few other people filmed the same very similar entity that looks like this dude. Is really almost like Robert Plant hairstyle, but the funky nose and the eyes. He's got this weird buddy hanging right next to him with weird fangs, which is not just an anomaly. An artifact for the camera, as you'll find later if I get to that point. So that's 2019, and that was July, huh? So he's got his beaver-like buddy next to him. I can't help it, man. Everyone wants something other than what it is. You know what I mean? And for some reason, we don't want to be honest about what's really going on. I honestly think that a lot of this is with the Native Americans and all other cultures, and I believe in the priestcraft you find in places like the inner sanctuaries of the Vatican know about these things, and they pray for these things and ask for these things, not so much for their blessings as to be infested with them and give them more quote unquote supernatural powers. Well, now whatever I was going to go here with this, I just lost my train of thought. And of course my back's burning. My shoulders burn so bad. So and I did videos about these things, but oh yeah, this one. And that's where I'll stop with my stuff today. A lot of stuff. This, he's blurry because he's a shadow, and they're shadow beings, and they're entities that belong to the realm of darkness. But what I've noticed with a lot of these entities, they have little like mini companions, and then one of them is always this dude. It almost looks like he's wearing glasses and bald, and he sticks out like a sore thumb in this video or this image. And he's like just attached to the back of it, but once again there's that head again. I was telling you about this entity that looks an awful lot like the ones I filmed or showed you earlier, and I'll go back to it just to remind you, because I think it's important, because I think a lot of people are looking for things that not necessarily there, or they're expecting to have images, and when they don't get the images that people told them they have to have. So this is that same guy. Actually, the film this time, he's in this grove, and then 100 yards going across was called Haroon Road. On the other side where the parking lot is, Actually, it's not even that. No. It's on the other side of the river. So it's on the same side as Haroon Road, west of Haroon Road, but on the other side of Maumee. It turns into Ottawa River, but it's where I'm at. It's like they changed the name. It goes from 10 Mile Creek to Ottawa River, which then leads into the Maumee Bay, which is part of Lake Erie. So I want to get to this thing because I want to show you that these things don't have to look what like everyone's saying, or you might envision they have to look like because on what everyone says they're supposed to look like. If you go back to where I dimmed the images. So we see this guy, he's popping out of this tree, and he's got the very similar nose, head shape, the cone, like cone head shape. There's the other guy, the beady eyes. This one you can't see the beady eyes, but you see the deep, for some reason, the dark reset. This black. There's the mouth. Very similar. Now, then filmed later at a different day. Here, and he's blurry, but you can see here's the blurry image. There's his head. There's him doing like making his puckering face nice, but there's the nose. There's the dark reset eyes, but there's the little black eyes that people talk about with his little Dr. Strangelove attachment thing. It's not. You can't be. It's not right. You can't. And I understand. I understand. I didn't ask for it to be the way it is. It just is what it is. So that's him, the entity. You can see that there's like some dumpsters. Now, did I film it on the other side of the river? Or is it over? Actually, I do think I was now. Let's go back to that. So this is filmed on the east side of the Huron River, and it's right at the edge once again of the parking lot, and this is trees, and you can see how tall they are going down. These are not shrubs. You can see this is clearly either dumpsters or the top of a car. So and it's hovering over this. Is that right? It's somewhere in that same area. Within we're talking a few hundred yards this way or that way from all this. So it's basically the same or similar thing. Once again, it's just, and I know it's blurry. I can't help the fact that they're shadow people. That you're going to have to tweak it in order to see the damn faces. They're shadow people. They live in the shadows. You can see there it is. This his face. There's his little Dr. Strangelove attachment dude. A lot of people talk about these little. There's like always an entity that's always attached to these things, and because we're not dealing with flesh and blood creatures. Now, at times they certainly can, manifest through whatever, the ether or some part that swat you across the face, knock on your house, and do all the other stuff. By the way, don't feel privileged about this because this has been going on for millennia. Oh, I know what I was going to do. So I was going to show this if I could find it. And remember this movie Apocalypto? And this guy here's the one of the high priests on top of the temple there. Isn't it interesting when you really look at this thing and his headgear? He has the beady eyes and the dark resets, and if you pay attention to how his whole headgear goes. Let's see if I can do this. All covered in blood, supposedly sacrificing human sacrifice to the sun god, but is he real? Are they really? Let's just imagine this being that Bigfoot that I was just telling you about. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Just I know them. They sacrifice to the demonic realm, right? To appease their gods. Oh shit. Shit. Bit of light. Sorry for the language. No, I'm not sorry for the language. I'm just a man. Just a man. Let's notice that the black leopard. Remember black? We get to the point. You see, they're all doing this. So here's you standing on top of the. So the top on top of this, the ziggurats high up in the sky, right? Sacrificing all the people and entities. I honestly think a lot of these steps, as they sacrifice and throw the hearts all over the steps, that as in certain times during the day, then these things then they come out of the rocks. There's a lot of these things called rock apes in different cultures, right? And then they manifest through the rocks. A great example of how they would do that. I don't know if anybody's ever going to listen to me. The smartest thing they ever do would be listen to me, not to all the rest of you, the yahoos out there that are trying to entertain you. I'm trying to warn you and educate you, but hey, you know, I don't blame if you don't want to listen to me. I don't want to listen to me either, so I wish somebody else would do what I'm doing. So anyways, so here's an example. This is Colorado Bigfoot, and in one of his videos he films this shadow entity. This is the rocks. Now imagine these rocks, and I'm not saying that these were once these ziggurats, but they could have been at one time for all I know. But just think this is all made out of this rock material, right? Hewn out of limestone and granite and other things, right? And something probably helped these people to do that. And I'm going to say that these shadow entities, these spirits, like Solomon's temple, and how he learned how to use these demons, as they call it, to help build his temple. And there's a sacrifice in order to do that. And then for thousands of years, what they've done, the sacrifice, and to this day, but it used to be to make these huge ziggurats and these pyramids and temples, right? In order to get their cooperation, I think there has to be a sacrifice, and of course they want nothing more to get rid of 90% of us. Isn't that interesting? Just like there's this whole eugenics program in the Georgia Guidestones and getting rid of 90% of the world's population. Why do they want to get rid of us? Because we cut down their forest and their environment and everything. So anyways, this thing right here, and it really is this giant shadow entity you can see right here. And if you look real closely, there's two eyes and the beat up nose and a weird mouth, and there's the hairline and everything else. And we call them Bigfoots. Of course, he's got something latched onto him, like all the rest of them. I think maybe this better. You can see the eyes there, maybe. And so they manifest through the material realm. Look at that thing that's right next to him, too. That was manifesting. They're both manifesting out of the rock. It can be the trees or it can be the rock. There's actually something manifesting. Anyways, so I just not to support. I just want to warn you about Colorado Bigfoot. He probably is a nice guy. Probably means well and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not knocking him as an individual. But you're going to learn a lot from him. And if you have really open eyes, you're going to really learn a lot. And one of the things is not to do what he's doing. Let him be the fall guy for this. But this thing, that's that thing. That's the shadow entity popping out of that rock. Turning into the big long arms, right? And the big head, and the big body. And when you zoom in it and do a little magnification on it, there he is. And there's the thing attached to him, and there's another thing right there. It's just... And I really believe, and a lot of other people have said it, there are historians of photography, that these things... The camera was designed first not to film family portraits, but to film spiritual entities. And it's fascinating. You'll find these things popping out of rocks all the time. Now, this is over Montana megaliths. I saw it right away. I can't believe they never saw it. They never saw it or circled it, but I just pointed it out to the gal that does this. So I don't know. She'll get, doesn't matter. She gives me credit. Who gives crap? Right next to her is right here, right next to these teethly looking parts of this megalith of the Montana, which I don't know if you knew that or not, is a frickin' face, 2 eyes. Here's a hairline, the leathery face. But here's the thing, it's popping out of the rocks. There's some tree structures that you'd always find. Let's see if you could. And there it is. It's actually got, and there's always got to have the other translucent body like I had in that other image, which we say here. So this guy, and then next to him is this guy right here. You see the glassy looking eyes and just kind of almost transparent looking one. They're always together, dude. You got to know what you're looking for, and what you're looking for is not what you think you're looking for. You got to open up your eyes if you want to see what's really going on. So back here, same thing. This is Montana, popping out of rocks. There's some of the trees and all that. There's the transparent one. Oh, that's pareidolia. That's just pareidolia. Yeah, fuck, it's pareidolia. You show me what pareidolia looks like. Anybody, you know what? This is what happens when you look for pareidolia. Okay? This is what you get when you look for pareidolia. But somehow this goes right over everyone's heads. Oh, is that spelling it right? There it is. Got that one? So pareidolia. We're not looking for that. We just want to look at images. And they give the examples, and there's the endless images of what pareidolia looks like. Right? Well, first of all, the most important one is artist renderings. Next one would be something like this. So they give you crap like this. Pareidolia. Look, there's notches in the nose and the mouth. It's pareidolia. Or how about the favorite ones where they do the trees, right? Look, there's a notch, and we'll drill a little hole in each knob, and there. Oh, it's pareidolia. It's got to be it's a face. It's got to be Bigfoot. No, that's not Bigfoot. These are all things you can tweak and mess with the woods and carve it in. Yeah. Or you can, this obviously is a mirrored image, it's too symmetrical. But here's another example. They go, oh, it's pareidolia, it's pareidolia. How about this one? It's pareidolia, it's pareidolia. You know, that is pareidolia. Okay? Learn to distinguish the two, okay? That's pareidolia. Now they'll try to want to convince you stuff like this would be pareidolia, which is the image of this projected on top of that. No, that's not pareidolia. I'm sorry to say, that's pareidolia. You have to do your homework and study so you don't get, because they're using it as a weaponized, as part of their weaponization of the anthropology. They're using it to deceive the masses, because most people are too lazy to look or listen or pay attention to what's going on, or just too busy. Really, that's the best way to look at it. But so that's not pareidolia. That's a shadow entity manifesting. That definitely is not pareidolia. That's one of those things, and you would never see it with your naked eye. You would. Let's put it this way: 99, 100 times you would not see it with the naked eye. It doesn't make the right conditions are right. You might see it, or you'd film it, and then it'd be there. Just as this is not pareidolia, just as that's not pareidolia, just as that's not pareidolia. But people will try to convince you that is because of, I guess, cognitive dissonance, and because they don't want to be pointed out or made fun of by their quote-unquote peers, which are, at this point, if you give a shit what anybody else thinks about you, you need to have a serious correction on your thinking, because these people will throw you under the bus, and people you think are your friends. Fascinating thing. Here's another day, a different angle, and if you pay real close attention, there's a dude right here. Dude right there. The two eyes, the hairline, the nose. This one, you might say, has a bearded white beard. You can see him looking, and there's that guy. He's not seeing it, not paying attention. There's some different angle of light and everything else. Notice at the same point, there it is again, and there's a tree structure, of course. There's another example of that shadow entity that you people want to call Bigfoot, which is really, these are not to be messed with. You don't want to invite these things into your life. This is an example, a good example of somebody filming it, actually, and this is from that howtohunt.com thing, of how these things start manifesting. You film it, and it will start. You think now. You have to pay real attention to this, because this, I argue, is a good example of pareidolia. This would be a great example of pareidolia. This right here is what they're suggesting is a face. There's a nose, and a mouth, and an eye. But if you look really closely, it looks like it. But it's just part of the rock. What's weird about this, the same token, these entities, what do? They frickin' pop out of the rocks. There's no reason why that shadow should be there. Let's see where I'm at here. Oh yeah, about this flat Earth thing. So if people have an issue with that, I just tell you, I spent a lot of time. I was one of the original people back in 2015, 16. They were sharing it on, doing interviews on Talk and Shoe, and my old show called Nothing But the Truth. And then it started. I did a little bit on Old Religion Dystopia, but I was so sick about it because I realized it turned into a cottage industry and a cult. Now, saying that doesn't mean there's not a lot of truth in what they're saying, and there's a lot of things you need to start questioning. And remember, they lie to you, and if you start really challenging all the official narratives, whatever it may be, you're going to poke a lot of holes in a lot of things and realize a lot of it's still conjecture, theory, and man-made constructs that are easy to be broken down and to at least proven that there's hardly any supportive evidence for their imposed theory on us. When it comes to the globe and all that stuff, there's a lot of things to really think about. If you care to think about. Most people don't care to think about. Most people are just going to, just be the savages they are, and where there's, although they'll pretend not to be savages. So anyways, this is that thing I was talking about once again, the thing that's popping out of the damn rocks that you did. I'm guaranteed it's the same things just imagine what it must have been like with all the lights and the candles and the thousands of people all around their temples and everyone being sacrificed to these things, and the right lighting and everything. You could see them manifesting around the high priests and on the temple and all. And, oh, they're real, and what do they want from us? And of course, they're not going to give you anything except for a few. The selective people at top are going to get demon possessed, are filled full of unclean spirits, and they're unclean spirits when you allow them to be inside you. And then you get some supernatural strength and ability and be able to do all these amazing things like predict what's going to happen and all this other nonsense. That was going to happen anyways, that there was already planned on happening. It's like stuff that's like, wow, you were able to do that, but the fact of the matter is it did no good for anybody. Stuff like, not astral projection, that's another example, but not telekinesis. What do they do those things? Oh, when they meditate and focus on things, and then they say, oh, something's going to happen on the other side of the world, and then it happens. Kind of. A great example would be the rings on Jupiter. So this one clown, he predicted 7 years prior that whatever did what he did with his mind, that which really all he did was nothing. He just said, pushed a construct. Him and his buddies, the think tank, pushed a construct that there was rings around Jupiter. And 7 days later, amazingly, artist renderings started showing up, or rings around Jupiter. Notice what I said, artist renderings. And by the way, I'm not making this up. You can find this out for yourself. You have never seen a real image of the Earth and the stars and the planets. You've seen nothing but artist renderings. You only now in the past 5 years, 10 years, you started seeing real images of the stars, thanks to technology like the P900, P1000 cameras in which you can film these things. And when you do film these things on a tripod, very stable, then you can do it in your front porch and find amazing things if you bother. And then along with some simple software package like Filmora, or even better one if you want, and with the magnification process, bring these things up maybe 5, 7 times, whatever is necessary. Maybe only 1 or 2, it all depends. And you will film entities in those things that they call planets and stars. And you're going to realize real fast that there is absolutely no way that any of it can be frickin' light years away. And then you start to realize there's no, the light years away, light years is this frickin' man-made construct. It's not based on anything real. And what's going to happen to when you bother to film stuff, this is going to show up. And those stars. And this is something that I filmed. And a star in Sirius. And if you look real close, and of course it's blurry because it's far. I mean, we're talking at least 30 miles away, 40, 50 miles away, somewhere above the clouds and that, somewhere in the second heaven or in the firmament. And these things all infest these things that look a lot like orbs, with rings within rings. And you just got this thing, and he's got the reset eyes, and he's got this frickin' crazy look, and this pushed in nose, and this kind of cone head type thing that you would think it was something from the Nephilim or something, with the weird crown and maybe on its head. And you know what? You start to put 1 and 1 together, gets 2, and then 2 plus 1, and you get 3, and next thing you add it all up, and you're like, holy camole. We really are doing with spirits. It's not Mike Adams' opinion. It's just the way it is. It's not. You'll find out it's not your opinion. And here's the thing. You're going to have to deal with the fact that there's a lot of people, and wherever they're at, and people are very violent towards the truth. Extremely violent. To the point that they're willing to kill you in order to preserve their lies and the false narratives. Now, isn't it interesting? These same things, these stars, you see the rings within rings, and people call it a vortex. But you know what? These stars, like this, he films this mark, supposedly, of this vortex, right? Or is it an orb? A spirit realm. And if you pay real attention to some spirit, there's something right in the damn middle of it, writing in it. The ring within rings within rings, something that Ezekiel talks about. And then you're going to find out how it's all simple. It's extremely simple, and you're going to have to ask yourself, why are they hiding all this stuff, and why are we deceiving each other and playing silly little games with each other? Because you're going to be able to find orbs. Now, this is what I filmed Saturday night. And I just went out there, and that's not smoke, and nobody's smoking, and it's a crystal clear night. And it's about 50 degrees, and if you look real closely, there's orbs all the distance. This is the side of my house. That's part of the gutter. That's the top. It's about 3 feet away from me. I'm filming orbs. You can see the different. There's blue ones, green ones, orange ones, and you see the different. A lot of them are transparent. That is not dust. You see the next flash, just one, nothing there, right? Notice there's a lot of power lines, though, and power lines are a great place to find orbs. And it's not just electricity, because you can film and see the orbs, because usually when you see orb, there's like a foot off each, around, circling each line, you can see electricity and electromagnetism going through it. Next, there it is again, different shot. You know it's a different shot because of the angles. But you can see that's the side of my house. It's not my house, the place I live. There's for the gutter, should be at least, and there's the red brick. And so we're, like I said, it's less than 3 feet. It's 3 feet away. And then it shows up again. And then there's, so I turn around, and there's the opening in the back, and there's 2, and there's an orb there, an orb there. Different colors, and they're everywhere, and they're not dust. And then I just you can film it anywhere you want. And they're like, why are they doing that to you? They're not doing anything to me, except that I can see what you should always be. And you never bothered. For the most part, that if you're listening to us, the odds are you never bothered to even film what's 3 feet in front of you. Night. With the flash. Isn't it fascinating here too that there's an orb here, and it's right almost where there'd be 2 dark recessed eyes. And I can show you so much more, but I'm just telling you that this is not there's no special skills here. There's nothing special about me. I don't belong to any ghost hunting club or paranormal club. Don't as far as on Facebook, I belong to a couple Bigfoot groups and Sasquatch groups only so that I get the message out to people. And yeah, I want attention. And attention, you know what I want is? I want you guys to know what's really going on and what you're being led into. Because it gets worse than that. I can't wait to do... I kind of am dragging my heels on this because it's quite disturbing, but a guy named Gary Salas, and the images that this dude captures of these entities at night all around him, and they look an awful lot like Bigfoot, and they just over and over and over again. And then there's dark entities, and there's ones there, you see the dark recessed eyes, and there's the nose and the mouth looking like some old witch and hag or something right there, a little trolley, thing. They want to give all sorts of names, but good luck. Well, one thing is all true. They're all frickin' spirits, and even he knows that. And he calls he films it at night. Because these are the entities. This is the life force of darkness. God created us. We are the children of light. We are the creation of light. We cannot do anything in darkness. And these things rule the night, the darkness. They're the spirit realm. Are they all the same? The spirits in Nephilim? I'm sure a few of them are. Well, I got a feeling that a lot of these showed up long before the Nephilim were around. You think it was somebody's... that's a great example of one. It's got to be a Bigfoot, right? And the deep recessed eyes, the funky nose, the cone head, the big mouth. We're dealing with spirits, folks. What time do I have? Do I have time to... And here's the thing about bringing this up, too. I'm not going to be able to read this. No Bible reading tonight. I'll do a second one separate. It's funny how you can't have this honest conversation. It's like somebody doesn't want you and I to know this. And I'm pretty confident that the top of that capstone, you're top of that pyramid on the back of that dollar bill, that all seeing eye, and that triangle, that all seeing eye, they know all about this. And they don't want you to know about this. They want you to stay as good little slaves. And at the end of the day, for most of us, maybe we'd be better off to be good little slaves. Because messing with these things, nothing but bad ends up happening. Nothing but bad. So, hope you learned something. I know I am. I'm learning a lot. I don't know how to convey it. Do I have to try to write this? But my tone of voice and the way my personality is, and even if I see my writing it, I know all I'm going to do is piss off a whole bunch of people. And I'm so sick of being isolated. But there's nothing I can do about it. That's the way it's going to be. I can't do anything about it, right? For those that listen to this past hour of ranting, thank you so much, and God bless you. And for real, this is unlike. It's like, okay, so other people say, we can't do what we're doing without your support. This is not true. They're all lying to you. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to keep doing this, but I really could use your support because I'm pissed poor, and I never have enough money at the end of the month to even have halfway, food, and my health is going to shit. So if anybody can help out a little bit to help pay some of the bills, I'm not telling you to pay everything, but geez, if 10 of you guys all donated $20, you would drastically change my life. You realize that? If 10 of you donated $20 this month, you would drastically change my life. How would that be? Because I would have enough money for all my bills and enough money for some food and maybe to take my son somewhere once this month. And I put a lot of time into this, and I'm grateful that I have the time to do it, and I'm doing it, and I'm sharing this stuff with you, and I'll keep doing it whether you help out or not. But if you can help others, it would be immensely appreciated. And if you can't, at least learn from this and try to warn people what they're getting themselves into, and warn, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, I want to talk a little more about this stuff. There's a dude, Monday, 3 hours, man, 3 in the morning, it was 3:15, 20 in the morning, 3 hours talking to this guy. He's lit up, high as a kite. Interesting guy, and living in Ireland, who goes in the woods and he films these entities. Now this is one of these, an example of one of these things popping out of the stones and just wedged in there in the stone. You can see his eye and just all messed up in there, his eyes and all that. And he filmed a lot of interesting entities. And I don't know. He seems like a nice guy. I don't know. It was two different wavelengths because of him being high as a kite. Not that I am against anything like that. I've certainly done the same thing. There's an entity filmed. Is interesting. There's the eyes, the nose, the big mouth, him with the hands. There's these things. I always just find these little things like praying or something. Let's see. There's that example, and he's next to something else too. This is his enchanted forest that he goes, and it's got amazing tree structures that these things create. Amazingly, whatever. This example one's. Oh, it might be easier. Actually, it might be easier to do this. So I don't want to go through all the images. I just wanted to bring that up. It's another example that they're everywhere, these spirits. And one other thing I did is I put them in this. Okay. So in groupings. You can see the different, just them popping up out of. There's a head right there. This, and some tree structures and that kind of stuff. Let's see. This is an interesting one right here. This one almost looks like a ghostly type thing. Is once again the dark recessed eyes, the mouth opening, looking almost like your traditional looking ghost type thing. Now these are things that I captured that he filmed, but I found images of. And you can see that one just as clear as day, just wedged in rocks. And something that's not much bigger than that. Just weird entities. There's that thing, right? The ghostly looking thing. There's this weird pumpkin head looking thing. There's the mouth. You can even see the eyes just popping out. I'll give you an example of how they show up. Right? And they're like, oh, look. It's Bigfoot. No, it's not Bigfoot. It's a spirit. This is a pretty good one that he captured right here. Of two entities. Shadow entities. And you can see what's interesting about that. It's slightly different positions. Of course, it's blurry. And it would always be blurry because it's, especially when you're in a where there's highly quote unquote spiritually charged area, your camera is going to act real funny on you. But it's just they're always in the shadows. There's an entity right there. I would not call, people were called this Bigfoot, Sasquatch, but I don't think there's a Sasquatch. This one's interesting. There's that entity, and then there's one right here next with them. And if you look real close, he's almost got the two eyes, and there's the mouth, and it's very dark. Is this all one entity or separate ones? When it comes to this flat earth stuff, you know, all thing I gotta tell you is a lot of people like, you know, they got it all figured out, right? You don't got it all figured out. You don't got it all figured out. And you need to really think about it, and whether it's flat or not, or it's a ball. One thing you should come to terms with is that you have no idea. The same people have lied to you about everything else in your life. Have no reason not to lie to you about what's going on here. Very interesting. This is this rock, and it has this, and they'll tell you it's pareidolia, but it's not pareidolia. It's a spirit manifesting out of the rock. Like this thing. The naked eye doesn't look like anything, I'm sure, but the camera captures it. And they'll tell you that it's artifacts from filming, and this is not the case. These things are real, and people have been interacting with these things since time immemorial. That's the way it is, and it's not going to change today, tomorrow, or in the future.
You're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind.
Seasons don't change.